I asked 100 FPL experts for their Game Week 2 transfer moves, captains, and chip strategies, so you guys can follow along with the expert trends every single game week. Hello, yes, welcome back to FPL Mate, and for a new season of the 100 Expert series, today we have asked these 100 wonderful people what they are doing in Game Week 2, so we can figure out all of the top trends so you guys can follow along at home and maybe compare it to what you guys are doing with your teams to see if you're on the right track. We're going to be looking at so much today, guys, so stick around. Big shout out to everyone involved here. If you do want to join the FPL Experts private Discord server, make sure you do join as a member at the starting 11 tier or above, guys, to join in with all the fun. Let's start off with the transfers and chips, and we're actually seeing a lot of our experts making no transfers this week, which shouldn't come as too much of a surprise to you. Most experts will be trusting the process and hoping to get some good results regardless of their Game Week 1 scores. However, there are some exceptions, with 16% of our experts this week making one transfer. We've actually got 2% taking a hit to make multiple transfers, two transfers, and we also see 2 of our experts using the wildcard or the free hit to make many moves indeed this week. In terms of those chips, we've got 3% of our experts using the bench boost. We've got 1% using a free hit and 1% using the wildcard. So generally speaking, it's not really a week to be making chips if we're looking at the expert trends, although there may again be some exceptions there, particularly with the bench boost. If your bench is looking really strong, maybe you've planned that bench boost for Game Week 2, maybe it could work for you, but the majority of our experts are saving it for a future week, and we will see week by week which weeks are the most popular weeks for those bench boosts. But we do have some transfers to talk about, so we're going to do them before we move on to the template and captaincy. But first of all, we're going to have a look at the overall transfer trends. This is the overall player base, what they are doing, and do our experts agree with any of these moves? And we do see Reinders having by far the most global transfers in ahead of Game Week 2, followed by Semenyo, Ekitike, and Chris Wood. We do see some interest among our experts, particularly on Reinders. He seems to be a player that our experts are also looking to bring in this week, with some interest in Semenyo, Ekitike, Wood, Haaland, and Kudus as well. There are, however, some players that, despite them being very popular among the overall player base, our experts are not interested in. There have been no new transfers among 100 experts for any of Ballard, Richarlison, Aït-Nouri, and Raya, and you can probably understand why. Ballard, you know, pretty expensive for a newly promoted defender there. We've got the likes of Richarlison, possibly not going to play the next game for Spurs, with Solanke their main number 9. No change on Aït-Nouri or Raya, and really we don't really see too many changes in the defenders or goalkeepers, as you're going to see very shortly here, guys. So here are the most popular transfers out. No strong trends this week, but this will probably change next week, and we'll see more and more transfers as we go into subsequent game weeks. But there are 3 transfers out for João Pedro. We do see, however, that last week he was owned by 65% of our experts, so it's really only a very small minority of João Pedro owners actually selling him, so probably not enough to justify suggesting you guys sell him. But Konsa, on the other hand, he had a 16% ownership last week among experts, and he is seeing 3 transfers out. So as a percentage of his ownership, slightly higher there because of his ban. He is going to be banned from Game Week 2, so maybe there are some moves to be made there. A couple of transfers out for Anderson, Jorginho Rutter, and Florian Wirtz as well, and the rest of them, it's just kind of a bunch of random players. One for Bowen, Fulkrug, Arias, Marmoush, and Dye, each seeing 1 transfer out for each of them. But thankfully, guys, there is a much more of a trend for the transfers in, so you can get a better idea of what kind of players you might be looking to bring into your team. And we are going to make some transfer suggestions when we are done with this part of the video too. But before we do that, make sure you do drop a like on the video. The return of the 100 Expert series. Of course, we did some preview expert videos before the season started, but hopefully we're really going to help you out. Make sure you do subscribe if you do want to follow along with the expert trends every single game week to see what the top managers are doing each and every game week. So here are our transfers in, and as I say, there is more of a trend here, as we do see 8 new owners for Tijani Reinders ahead of Game Week 2. He was already owned by 64% of experts, so we're going to see Reinders now in the majority, the vast majority of those expert teams, so he might be a player you need to consider bringing him in. We also see a few other players with a little bit of interest. Semenyo, Cash, and Wood also seeing a few transfers in, very low ownership for each of these players in game week 1. So the first interest in these players is now finally coming in for the new game week. And some other players here, a little bit of interest for Dorgu, Ekatike, Evanilson, Haaland, and Kudus as well. We do actually see one of our experts selling Salah as part of a -4 to bring in Haaland. But again, that is not a trend, so I don't want to focus on that too much, but it's just something that, you know, some people are doing. With 100 different experts with different play styles, we are going to see some people far more aggressive than others, and maybe Haaland is going to be in the captain conversation, because this week it's not all about Salah. We've got some really interesting captain data coming up for you very, very shortly. So following those transfer moves, what does the template look like? Well, not really too much change. As I said, there's not too many transfers being made by those top managers so far, but it's pretty interesting to see what kind of players our experts are owning into game week 2. So Dubravka and Sanchez are the goalkeepers. The defense, the 5 defenders seem to be Esteve, Pedro Porro, Nico Williams, Juve, and Anderson seem to be the popular guys. In midfield, we're looking at Palmer, Salah, Reinders, and Rodgers, and Wirtz as a midfield. And the forward line, Watkins, Mark Gu, who's probably going to be on the bench, and Joao Pedro there as well. So you would imagine in a setup something like this, our experts will be looking to bench probably Dubravka or Sanchez. We'll come to that one, don't worry. Mark Gu, of course, and 2 of the defenders, most likely 2 of Pedro Porro, Juve, Anderson, or Esteve. Probably playing Nico Williams this game week, to be totally honest with you guys. Oh, and a quick note on the average score for game week 1. I'm always super scared about posting these things this early in the season, because a lot of people will panic. A lot of people will say, how the average score was 56.5 points. You know, I scored more than that. Why aren't I an expert? Of course, we do not judge our experts based on game week 1. And hopefully by showing you how our experts started on average this season, you will quickly come to realize how quickly they shoot up the ranks. And, you know, this kind of rank will be a distant memory. So an average score in game week 1 of 56.5 points among our experts. Let me know if you did outscore the average expert this week, and an average rank of just over 4 million, but I'm not worried. This is going to come down a lot. We do have 6% of our experts in the top 1 million, so that is you know, a big ask at this stage of the season. Guys, we're going to see a lot of green arrows throughout the season, so please don't panic. I promise you, we had the same situation last season, and by the end of the season, the average rank was around 50,000th with something like 20-30% of our experts were in the top 10k by game week 38. So we're going to see some big moves here, guys, but it all has to start somewhere in game week 1. So based on all of that, what can we suggest for transfers? Well, I guess the main player to remove would maybe be Concert, considering he is suspended. Cash and Dorgu are the 2 4.5 million defenders that could work as adequate replacements. If you do want to get Reinders, you could sell Anderson, you could sell Jorginho, but I think in general, buying Reinders is really going to be about which midfielder do you have in your squad right now that maybe you're not super keen on. Maybe you brought in a player for your midfield, you're now thinking, maybe I regret that a little bit, and as such, maybe that's the guy to sell for Reinders. Maybe you've got an Arias and you're a little worried about him, for example, or various other players, Damsgaard, I don't know, but those are the kind of Reinders transfers you probably would be looking to make. Florian Wirtz to Semenyo is an option, maybe a little bit luxury, but that is definitely a possibility. And if you really do want to sell Joao Pedro ahead of West Ham, if you're not committed to him, you are worried about his minutes, then selling him to Chris Wood could be a possible idea for you guys as well. So let's take a look at these captains, guys. And yeah, really interesting stuff here, because it is not all about Salah this week. It really isn't. In fact, less than half of our experts will be captaining the Egyptian king in game week 2, which is yeah, you know what, maybe an opportunity here for you guys to go a little bit different. So 44 out of the 85 Salah owners going into game week 2 will be captaining him. So, you know, again, it's not a huge amount compared to some of these other options. So Saka, for example, although he was only owned by 19 of our experts last game week, he is being captained by 17 of them. So crazy stuff, which basically tells me if you have Saka in your team, you should probably actually captain him for this game at home against Leeds. According to the expert data, of course. I'm sure some of you guys will disagree with that one. But if you do have Saka, why not captain him? If you don't, plenty of other options here for you guys. We see 13 of our experts captaining Cole Palmer, which is a pretty small percentage of his 89% ownership. 11 out of the 14 Haaland owners will be captaining him. So similar to the Saka situation, if you have Haaland in your squad, I think you're probably more likely to captain him than if you had Salah in your squad right now. Maybe a slightly easier fixture for Man City compared to Liverpool against Newcastle. We've got a few captains for Watkins as well, 10 of those. 3 captains for Gyökeres. Around a third of Gyökeres owners in the experts will be captaining him. And some rogue shouts at the bottom here. One of our experts captaining Bruno Fernandes and one captaining Ekitike there as well. So yeah, it's an interesting spread here. Certainly Salah is the one to default to, but given that so many of our experts as a percentage of their ownership are captaining the likes of Saka and Haaland, I think those are players you certainly need to consider if you do have them in your squad. But if not, Salah seems to be the main guy, Palmer an option, Watkins an option, and everything outside of that is maybe a little more risky, a little bit more out of pocket perhaps. But there you go. Those are the captains. We have just one more thing to talk about today. So in the 100 Expert Discord server, the private Discord server, I put in a couple of polls in the chat this morning to see what our experts were thinking ahead of the new game week, and we're going to try and do some polls like this every week, so we just can answer some of those bonus questions, so those other questions you might be wondering, always to get that second opinion. And we got some pretty definitive answers actually from our questions. So the first question was, who would you start out of Pedro Porro and Esteve if you had both of those players? You had to bench one and play one. Which one would you play? And 81% of our experts in the private server did select Pedro Porro as the player they would like to play. So pretty conclusive there. If you have Esteve and Pedro Porro, our experts would prefer to play Pedro Porro. And of course, the second question, which player would you start in goal? Sanchez or Dubravka? I know a lot of people dealing with that question as well. Sanchez, 88%, Dubravka, 13%. The percentages aren't exact. They're like point something. So for that reason, you are seeing a mismatch in the total. That's 101%. Doesn't make sense, but hopefully you guys get the idea. Sanchez by far preferred to Dubravka as the goalkeeper of choice to start the game for your teams in Game Week 2. So make sure you guys do subscribe. Stick around if you want to have all of these questions answered for you every week by those who know FPL the most. It really helps me with my decisions as well. Like, this has helped me. Seeing these results, I now know what to do and I can do it with confidence, which is really, really nice to have that opportunity, guys. So there we go. That is everything we got from the experts today. If you did enjoy this one, make sure you do drop a like. Do subscribe. Feel free to join the channel as a member if you do want to get involved on the expert Discord server. And aside from that, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you tomorrow for yet another video. See you later, mates. Bye-bye.